JJS updated after a fairly long content drought, and what we got is pretty interesting to say the least. Yuki Tsukumo, the tall woman with a fat— wait, my parents watch my videos. Yuki Tsukumo, the character who basically did nothing until their first fight where they got killed by an ass pool, was added to the game. They're a base-only character, which makes plenty of sense, because they didn't get that much screen time, and I'd say their design is actually pretty fun. Yuki is a good character with one of the most powerful bases in the game, and has a lot of depth that makes them difficult to use, but fun. The only bad part about them is their ultimate being irredeemably useless, but that's something I have more words for later on. For now, let's talk about the update. Yuki Tsukumo was added to the game. 3 new logic blocks, fun blocks, camera blocks, and dummy blocks were added. 4 new emotes, Paradise 2, Paradise 3, Specialist, and Gubby were added. 3 new victory flashes, which are win animations in Ranked, were added to the game. Those being King of Curses, Stand Proud, and Domain Invasion. Keep in mind that you have an animation even if you don't buy one, so if you don't specifically want one of the animations, you don't have to buy one for a cool win screen. They're 1,000 cash, which is kind of pricey. More music tracks were added to the roulette waiting room. A new setting to change the volume of background music was added. Locust Guy got new M1 animations, and a finisher for crushing jaws. The tutorial was removed from the game. Playful Cloud now degrades after every attack. You can toggle off the background for image blocks. The smoothness of mover blocks was improved, and they now carry players in contact with it, allowing for stuff like trains. A bunch of emotes got some changes, and while I can't explain them all generally, it's just that the emotes got music. Some roulette maps got changes, sorcerers can't burst in FSD anymore, American Shenanigans guns have reduced ragdoll time, some performance of stuff was improved, Yuji lost his perfect block black flash passive, Walk-on now disables if you aren't directly facing the enemy, bursting no longer puts dash on cooldown, the amount of data leaderboards and elo takes was reduced, coin Easter egg no longer grants cash. Finally, there's bug fixes, though I know that one of these fixes was not actually fixed, because I just had the issue of duels not displaying current lives in a fight that I did for background footage. You can pause if you want to see what was actually fixed, but there's nothing here from what I see that impacts balance or whatever, just quality of life. First thing to talk about with the update is Yuki, who's an interesting character. The first move is Garuda Rebound, and I'd say out of all of the moves, this is the one with the most mechanical depth to it. The first usage of the move is pretty simple. You kick Garuda, and it's a blockable projectile that ragdolls and knocks back on hit. However, after this hit, Garuda rebounds to you. If you time a second press of the button, kind of like Black Flash, then you kick Garuda a second time. This second kick guard breaks and sends the opponent towards you, which sets up great for combos. But the caveat is that it can be perfect blocked if the opponent times their block, which sends it back to the user, usually hitting them. It's very similar to one of Tamari's moves in Rogue Demon, if any of you JJS players watching this came from that era. There's also another modification to the move, which is that if you hold 1, the rebound is much slower. This allows you to set up some insanely unique combos, as you can see from the one I'm showing on screen right now. And what's more interesting is that if you use the rebound throw of Garuda Rebound while using another move, it cancels that move into the rebound throw, which doesn't use up the cooldown of the cancelled move. That means that you can do stuff like using the second move twice in a single combo. And while it's very hard to pull off, it is technically possible if you practice enough, making Yuki a very high skill ceiling character. Going back on track though, Yuki's first move is great. You can play mind games with it as well, by using the first part on a good player who you know can block it, and then following that with a 4-dash block bypass when you think they're going to try to perfect block it. Generally though, this move is your main neutral option, and also your main combo extender, with how the second part brings the target back to you. The second move is Rising Rage, and this one's nothing too crazy. There's an initial blockable hit that has a very good hitbox, which makes it good for neutral, and then a second uppercut that guard breaks as well as ragdolling for a long time, which helps set up into a down slam or other moves. It's decent for catching people in M1 trades, good for combos, and you can also use it off of the second hit of Garuda Rebound. However, it won't ragdoll if you just use it on some down slammed person, so you specifically need to combo it off of Rebound. Also, this is pretty situational, but if you use Garuda Rebound after this move, it automatically tracks onto them, which can extend their ragdoll by a little bit. Third move is Mass Breaker, and this thing is one of the most insane moves I've seen. It does a wind up into a guard breaking dash that deals decent damage and sends the opponent flying. The move also hits ragdoll as well, and while it's not terribly hard to dodge and punish because of the long end lag, the range that the move has is ridiculous, plus the fact that it's a guard break makes it harder to dodge as well. If you predict your opponent will dash and use it to catch them when they have no dash, they're either forced to use a counter, or if they have none, eat the hit. The move can also somewhat confirm into Garuda Rebound to start a combo, so it's even better that way. However, the stun isn't long enough to do a down slam even if you have a wall. It's one of the best guard breaks in the game, and if the damage was higher, or a combo started, it'd be an awakening move. But honestly, this thing is incredibly good for a base move. Finally, the fourth move is Garuda Stab. Nothing to write home about, it's just a guard breaking stab that ragdolls the opponent away from you. It is an incredibly good guard break with a solid hitbox and low windup, so you can use it on blocking opponents, or during an in-1 trade to get a free ragdoll and damage, which, like other moves, can also confirm into Garuda Rebound to keep a combo going. Don't get me wrong, this is an incredible guard break, but I'm not saying much about it because it's in the exact same category as moves like Rapid Punches and Wing Throw. As for Yuki's ultimate, okay, I'm gonna go on a rant here. This thing is useless. I don't mean it metaphorically, or rhetorically, or poetically, or theoretically, or in any other fancy way. It's useless. Straight up. Okay, that's an exaggeration. If you use this thing in someone's domain, it's technically useful, and technically is doing a ton of heavy lifting there, because the opponent can't run away from it since they're in domain, and they can't interrupt it since they're in their domain animation, meaning that they'll be killed by it. However, the move is still hot garbage with zero redeeming factors, and domain is the only time this thing is even usable because you don't even have the time to catch someone in their awakening animation with this thing. Yuki's awakening does a cancelable animation that's fairly long before summoning a black hole. This black hole pulls in nearby people in a small radius, and if anyone is pulled into the center, they get one shot. After this black hole ends, you die. Problem is, well, everything about this is an irredeemable mess of a move. It's worse than old Plasma Wave, and not by some small little metric like, oh, Plasma Wave's an eensy-weensy little bit better. No, this thing literally makes old Plasma Wave look like Lapse Blue Maximum. It's so easy to interrupt with zero iframes, so you can't use it in someone's face where it needs to be used so that they don't run away. It's incredibly easy to run away from it, so you can't use it outside of someone's face where they can interrupt you, and the fact that it kills you means that what the move actually does is just make your G button a low tier god key where you just die for nothing at all. There's genuinely no use for it, at least in ranked. Like, yeah, anyone can make the argument that, ooh, it's funny in public servers, ooh, shut the f up, that means jack when Yuki doesn't have some alternate option that is actually usable and not just a funny, I'm gonna kill myself so that you can't kill me button. Like, the argument for funniness only works when there's alternatives to doing the funny thing. I don't have any issue with Hollow Nuke because you're never forced to do it, even though the move is complete garbage. Nor did I particularly mind the first version of World Cutting Slash, the one that was bad, because you still had your entire moveset to work with and were never forced to use World Cutting Slash. That's not the case here with Black Hole. It is your only ult, your only option, and yet it's completely useless with not a single use case besides a mutual kill inside someone else's domain. Hell, even in terms of killing yourself in a public server to rip the satisfaction away from your opponent, it's power crept by a much easier option of just breaking the wall and jumping into the void, which doesn't require any ult meter, or, you know, the escape or enter combo. I should stop talking about this before the video gets too long, but man, this move is horrible. Yuki's design as a whole is just one where she has a very powerful base with great guard breaks and fun combos that can do good damage, but no ultimate to balance that out. It's really a similar situation to Grasshopper Curse if Grasshopper traded off having a usable ultimate for a bit more tools to work with. Yuki is a difficult character to play for sure, and I'd bet that only 10% of the people watching this video are going to actually figure out how to do the Devil May Cry combos with her, but they're still really fun even without them. Somewhat high skill floor, incredibly high skills feeling, they're more difficult than Grasshopper Curse, but I still recommend trying to learn them because they're enjoyable to use. Moving on from that, Yuji using Perfect Block is a good thing. Perfect Block was always kind of just a mistake that gave Yuji a really powerful passive that he did not need. He already had counter hit and just insanely good neutral with his ability to feint moves, so the Perfect Block that gave him weirdly high damage if he did, you know, a basic part of the game, which is just blocking it and wanting someone back, shouldn't have existed. Yuji's not losing a vital part of his kit, just something that made him stupid. As for victory flashes, these things are cool. I really like the way they look, though I do think they're going to get old very quickly, but since they don't affect gameplay at all, there's not much to say about them. The same sentiment goes for any other visual thing, like Locust Guy's M1s getting changed, or Crushing Jaws getting a finisher. Reducing ragdoll on guns in American Shenanigans is neat, so that you can't just do the infinite combo on people. Lock-on is something I do not have any authority to speak on, because I've never used it, so if you are a lock-on user watching this video, leave a comment saying what you think about it, and as for other stuff like playful cloud degrading, or the tutorial being removed, it's interesting. Playful cloud degrading is fine, items generally aren't something that should be around for too long, and as for the tutorial, I guess it's fair to remove it. It could be considered annoying, and most people can usually understand from the get-go how a battleground game works. They're not really a genre that cares for tutorials. So yeah. Generally, this update is really cool. I think Yuki's release was a little rushed because of the ultimate, but in terms of how the base works, it definitely feels like a finished product. Balance-wise, they're kind of stupid. Specifically, Massbreaker needs an urgent nerf because it's just way too spammable, but Yuki is a solid character. They're incredibly annoying to fight, and they're basically what Megami haters think Megami actually is. And they can spam, zone, shut down turtling, pretty much do everything but fight against ultimates, which is the sole weakness that holds a character back from being top tier. She feels like an ABA character, and if you've played ABA, you know what I mean. Anyways, that's it for the video. I'm you eternally, thanks for watching, have a good day, and maybe subscribe. Bye.